I'll tell thee now a quaint and curious thing. I was, aged 16 years, an English king. Royal kings, we know, it's common, but as kings go, you couldn't have found one commoner. To err is human. Surely that defines Shakespeare's royal lines. Pembroke, not the Earl, but Pembroke Street. I tripped along, nervous, eager, fleet, from Pembroke Street, number 71, our house in Bradford, where that day begun, from back to back, obscurity's own dwelling, a voyage. Ambition's sails were swelling. The journey didn't take a lot of fuss. In fact, I turned the corner, caught a bus. Momentous though that journey, do not smile. It cost a penny. Lasted but a mile. What must the king do now? Was in my noddle. Alternate tarmac and Victorian cobble soothed and shook the vehicle and its king, who would in minutes be auditioning. Shaken Richard II, wastrel fool. What must the king do now? Why, drama school, the Northern Theatre School just down in town. My gay apparel for an almsman's gown, my figured goblets for a dish of wood, my subjects for a pair of carved saints, my sceptre for a palmer's walking staff, and my large kingdom for a little grave. It's very hard to know what language to speak this poem in. I sometimes feel that it should be soot-bespeckled snow lay on the ground. Thawed to slush, refrozen into ice. Leaping from the bus and running where the causeway flagstones won't be there. They sloped uneven past a patch of waste, familiar, comfortable urban dereliction, short-cut leading in my youth's conviction through the town's exhausted, spent vernacular, whose stones spoke messages oracular, and spurred me, leaping on a little late, to where a minor goddess lay in wait. She'd made her temple down in Chapel Street, amongst a warp and weft of woolen warehouses where men wore drills on top of worsted trousers, like my dad. In a tiny upper room she sat, in a corner by the fireplace, elderly and just a touch majestical. Grey hair swept into a wispy bun. She greeted me as, fresh from dodging ice, I must have brought a chill into the room, where patiently, a little heavily, twixt fire and desk, she talked and listened in the quietness. Beside the mantel, just one photograph, focusing the wise old face into a character she'd played for Tyrone Guthrie in his West End play, Top of the Ladder. From our separate rungs of youth and age, experience and ignorance, we levelled looks. What did I know? Little. Nothing. And here was Gertrude to Olivia's Hamlet. And Guthrie, quite averse to plays of love, had given her As You Like It to direct, Orlando Michael Redgrave, Rosalind Edith Evans, names to conjure with. Who did I know? Richard II, quite well. 30 lines of his, at least. One of your students helped me with the speech, and Saturday morning classes, speech and drama. And what does your father think? She suddenly asked. Incredulous, he'd said, You can't. You can't. I could. I would. I don't think he's convinced. And can your family afford the fees? Oh, no, I'd apply for a grant, of course. Those were the days. Let me hear your speech. I'll tell thee now a quaint and curious thing. At 16 years I was an English king, there, in the corner of the little room. Richard, teetering on the edge of doom, and I, at the theatre's threshold. I'll accept you. Thank you. I turned to the door. Tell your father that you have a good voice, a speaking face, and a feeling for the work. Run along. I'll tell thee now a quaint and curious thing. At 16 years, I might have been a king.